What's up, everybody? Happy holidays. Welcome to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesar Sportsbook. I'm Katie Mox. Today we're talking NFL picks and props, all kinds of bets for the holiday slate of games, week 16 of the NFL. And we've got our friend from the game day, Frank Ammirante. How are we doing?
How's it going? Happy holidays. Always a pleasure to be on the show. Stretch run NFL season, exciting time, especially for your 49ers. They just look completely dominant. You're loving it right now.
I'm loving it, but it's because we've been dominant at this stretch of the season for the last few years. You know, they've gone to the NFC Championship game and not gotten past there. This is when I start to kind of hold my breath a little bit. I'm like, please, everyone stay healthy. Please don't fall apart. But they are looking like the best team in the NFL. So hopefully we can hold on to that. Before we get into week 16 preview, I do want to talk to you about fantasy. Obviously, you are a fantasy expert. I go to you all the time for help. I have a personal question I want to ask you because I did make the playoffs in my league. I won week 1, and now we're going on to the next round. So I picked up Miami defense this last week. I've had the Steelers defense this whole time. I'm not someone that changes things around. Like, I pretty much keep my same team. If there's injuries, I'll move around, but I pretty much stick with my guys. But I picked up Miami's defense special teams, which I think won me last week, 38 points. Would you play the Steelers defense this week up against the Bengals, or would you play Miami defense against Dallas?
I would have to go Steelers there because, you know, they're at home. Jake Browning has played well, but the fact is that the Bengals without Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow would be a better matchup for the defense in fantasy than the Dolphins, you know, taking on the Cowboys in what could be a shootout. Yeah, I got to go Pittsburgh there. You could also look to the waiver wire. The Colts have been on fire for defense, which I'll get into later. They've been racking up sacks and turnovers. They play Taylor Heineke and the Falcons. But, you know, the Steelers are still a good option as well.
Yeah. Okay, because I moved Miami out and I put the Steelers in, so I just wanted to check. But you just basically set up my next question. Looking at the waiver wire, like, who beyond the Colts defense and special teams, like, who should we be looking at to pick up?
So the thing now, we're right in the heart of the playoffs. Like, in terms of receivers and running backs, there's fewer options that like, you're not going to pick up Noah Brown of the Texans and start him over, say, one of your more established players. You want to ride with your studs for the most part. So really the focus for waiver wire is on defenses and kickers. Like, for defense, I said the Colts, but also, you know, I could see the Rams really blowing out the Saints tonight and causing problems to to Derek Carr getting some sacks. You know, Derek Carr has not been impressive this season. So that could be an option that's, you know, widely available. And kicking wise, you know, I would try to look for a kicker who's in an indoor game playing in a dome, maybe the Rams kicker. You could also look at Dustin Hopkins on the Browns if he's available. Sometimes these kickers get dropped and you get surprised who's available, even though they're scoring at a high level. But yeah, in terms of pickups, it's a focus on defenses and kickers, because the good running backs who are taking over, like Ty Chandler, say on the Vikings, they're likely already rostered in your league. So I mean, if they're there, pick them up immediately. But for the most part, they're not available.
One more selfish question for you. I've got Devon Achane and I have Jonathan Taylor. I've got Christian McCaffrey, so he's playing. But who would you play, Achane or Jonathan Taylor this week?
That's tough because the Cowboys' run defense just got gashed by James Cook. But having said that,
has been getting most of the carries.
Yeah, that's where I was getting exactly. Like, as much as we love Achane, he's flashy, he's a rookie, he's really fast. Mostert gets most of the work. No pun intended. And Jonathan Taylor coming back, he'll get fed. You know, the Colts are in the thick of the playoff race. And, you know, Jonathan Taylor has more of a track record. I think you have to go with him.
Okay, good. Yeah, because projected points, they got Achane higher. But I was thinking the same thing, Jonathan Taylor. Okay, I'm going to switch that up. Thank you so much.
I think you kind of projection. Sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to quick thing. Probably they didn't, because it's not fully confirmed. Maybe once it's fully confirmed that he's back, they'll adjust that projection.
And literally, we're talking about tenths of a point here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not like they're both. I think it's like 10 point something or 12 point something. Like they're very, very similar. But Achan is projected a little bit better. But then once I saw that Jonathan Taylor was good to go, I was like, ooh.
Yeah,
Oh,
great
and I also
timing.
feel like since Achan has been so injury prone, I feel like they've been holding him back a little bit because they want him healthy for the playoffs, and maybe that's why they've been running with Mostert a little bit more. So yeah, I tend to agree with you on that one. But I've just got an embarrassment of riches, though. I've got Josh
That's
Allen,
pretty
I've got
nice.
CMC, yeah. I mean,
Ooh,
it's I've got Ayuk who didn't have a great game last week. I've got Zay Flowers. Like
it's
it's
a
so funny
stacked team.
because yeah, it's a stacked team and I'm doing really well that way. But when you can look at like the coaching statistics, I'm like the worst in the league in terms of coaching statistics, probably because I don't change my team around. I just keep them, and there's a lot of people that are like you, real experts on the
Yeah,
waiver wire all the time, moving things around. But I also think you could do that a little bit too much. You drafted this
yeah.
team, you got to let them play to a certain extent. And look, it's gotten me to where I am. So
Yeah,
I'm in
sometimes
a league.
we overthink the decision and it ends up biting us for sure.
Yes. Yes, exactly. But I still really appreciate your advice here. One thing I want to ask you about, because this has been the year of the backup quarterback. I believe we've seen something insane like between 54 and 56 different quarterbacks this year. Does that change the way that you will draft quarterbacks next year?
Yeah, for sure. Because coming into this season, I liked paying up for quarterback, getting like a Josh Allen, Jalen
Yeah,
Hurts, even Justin Herbert, Lamar Jackson. But we see so many of these quarterbacks from in the later rounds emerge, like bounce backs like Dak Prescott, breakouts like Brock Purdy. He went so late. CJ
I love
Stroud
it.
had an amazing rookie season. You could really play matchups here and there. Like, look, Jake Browning, the last 3 weeks, he's put up 20 plus fantasy points. So, I mean, every year is different. You're going to have some years where the more expensive, like highly touted
Yeah.
quarterbacks really pace the field and score more than everyone else. But I think I'd rather just play it like it went this year and just wait on quarterback. I'm back on that
Yeah.
side again.
Josh Allen has been great for me. I mean, yes, he's thrown a lot of interceptions this year, but he runs one in almost every single game, which helps a lot. Ends up having quite a few passing touchdowns as well. You kind of touched on this rookie quarterback situation. Obviously, CJ Stroud was such a surprise this year. He dropped in just the NFL draft for well, he ended up going high, but in terms of his popularity, it kind of dropped down. People thought because he didn't attend the Manning camp that he wasn't going to be
Yeah.
selected. And he certainly wasn't first overall. And you got someone like Bryce Young, who was really flashy and everybody thought was going to be huge this season. Looking forward to next season. We got Caleb Williams and Drake May. Who would you pick up first?
It would have to be Caleb Williams because he's such a highly touted prospect. From what I've read into it with the draft community, like Caleb Williams, in terms of quarterback prospects for the last few years, he ranks right up there with like Trevor Lawrence and Andrew Luck, and they were really, highly hyped coming out of the draft. Drake May could be really good, but I just got to stick with Caleb Williams there.
Yeah.
He just is the clear cut first overall pick, and I'll take my chances wherever he lands, even if Drake May
Yeah.
lands in a better situation. In terms of fantasy, I'll just ride the more highly touted prospect, and that's Caleb Williams.
Where do you see Caleb Williams going next year?
Well, it looks like the Bears are locked into the first overall pick because the Panthers
Yeah.
just have been really disappointing. I think the Bears should trade Justin Fields and take Caleb Williams because you get a potentially stud quarterback on a rookie deal, which can
Yeah.
really allow you to stack your roster like with your 49ers. Look at them with
Yeah.
Brock Purdy. Um,
Right.
but yeah, I'm gonna say the Bears will end up making what I feel is the right decision. So I'm gonna pick he goes to the Bears.
It's so interesting because Trey Lance and Justin Fields were in the same class. And, the Niners, I think, made the wrong decision there. I think Justin Fields in a Shanahan offense would be electric. Now, we don't need him because we got the would be possible MVP this year in Brock Purdy. And look, Trey Lance got injured and we don't have to get into any of that. Let's look at this week. We've got really big games, high totals, which we haven't seen all that much. Cowboys and Dolphins, I
Yeah.
believe, is the highest total at like 51.5. You also have the Ravens and the 49ers, two offenses that can certainly put up points. Are there any stacks that you're looking at or fantasy players that you really trust the most in these matchups? I mean, it's got to be CMC, right? I mean,
oh yeah, like for the Ravens and 49ers, like you can't really bench any of your 49ers studs
no.
like Debo, CMC, Kittle, Ayuk. They just even Purdy, they just have too much upside. That offense is performing at a historic level, really. On the Ravens side, I could see, obviously you start Lamar, but
Yeah, Gus
the
Bus.
receivers, yeah, Gus Bus should have more work with Keaton Mitchell now out for the year, but the Ravens do play Justice Hill when they're in hurry up and in 2-minute drill situations and even like
Mm,
long distance, like third and long. So while I could see playing him, he could end up having a really inefficient game. You would need him to find the end zone. And Zay Flower, like the 49ers defense is really good. I have Zay Flowers in one league. I may bench him for Jackson Smith-Njigba against the Titans where we're
ooh,
seeing he start to come
yeah,
on. He had that big play against the
yeah.
Eagles at the end. So really, I'm going to get into it when we talk our picks, but I really like the 49ers in this game. So that leads me to be a little pessimistic on the Ravens. As for the Cowboys-Dolphins, that could be a shootout. You fire everyone up, except Brandon Cooks. I'll be a little hesitant on the Cowboys because Miami's
Really?
pass. Yeah, because Miami's pass defense has been much better since Jalen Ramsey has been healthy, and obviously, like you're not gonna bench CeeDee Lamb. So if I'm saying one of the players on the Cowboys who may be affected by that improved pass defense, I would pick Brandon Cooks and I would look elsewhere.
Okay. All right. I love that. One more selfish question. I keep saying I'm not going to ask you this, but then I have you here. I have Zay Flowers as well, and you brought up a really good point. Now I'm pretty banged up at receiver. I've got Ayuk, so like you said, I'm going to play him. But I've got a ton of tight ends. I've got Kincaid. I've got Cole Kmet because I just love tight ends. I know it's weird. I have like all the tight ends in the league. Um, and I have Dalton Schultz. I believe Dalton Schultz is injured or maybe. But would you play? Well, I guess I can't really because I have to have 2 receivers.
Oh, right. I
Yeah.
think the good
All right, so I
this
gotta
the
play Zay
good
Flowers. Yeah,
yeah, the good thing for you is because you have Ayuk, that kind of has a positive correlation having a receiver
right,
on each team. Because if it turns to a shootout, you
right,
know, Flowers
right.
could be reaping the benefits on the Ravens,
Yeah,
and Ayuk, of course, could on the 49ers. So in your
that's true.
case, I like playing Flowers, and I would take him over the tight ends. As an encouraging thing, hey, Flowers' receiving yards prop is at 46.5, which is still in line. Like it's not that
Yeah,
low compared to what he usually
get you
does.
some points.
So I think I'm fine going Flowers in your case.
Okay, good. All right, we'll keep Flowers. I this week, well, one, I can't believe that I'm here, that because I'm up against I'm in a league, an auction league with all of the fantasy football today guys for CBS Sports. I mean, like actual
Oh,
legitimate
nice.
heavy hitters, and then there's me, and somehow I've made it this far, and picking all 49ers and tight ends for the most part. But here we are. So I'm excited. But my matchup this week, we are like neck and neck. I think I'm like the 51% favorite. Like we are just like really, really close. So I want to be smart. I want to be really smart. I got to ask you, who is your fantasy MVP this season? For me personally, it's got to be Christian McCaffrey. I mean, the guys want me so much.
Yeah, like if you have Christian McCaffrey, you're definitely on the high end. Like you're one of the championship contenders, having one of his really elite seasons. For my choice, I picked someone who was available really late in drafts. That if you took this player and you did okay in the rest of your draft, you're probably still a contender, and that's Raheem Mostert. It just, he's got what 18
Same amount of
touchdowns.
touchdowns. Yeah, same amount of touchdowns as the CMC,
You
right? 20, I think. Well, 18 rushing, 2 receiving.
Oh yeah, yeah, and he was available late because remember, even when Jeff Wilson got injured before the season, like he sort of moved up in his average draft position, but he was still available. Mostert, that is like, I think off the top of my head, 7th, 8th round. So you got a top 5 fantasy running back at such a cheap price. I could also have said Kyron Williams, who's the ranked
Oh,
second
he's gonna
among
run
running backs.
all over them tonight.
Oh,
He's gonna
oh
have a
yeah.
big game.
Oh, 100%. I'm actually going to touch on that. I have that pick too later, but I was going to say him too, but he missed some time. So because he missed some time,
Yeah.
I'm going to give it to Mostert.
Yeah, this Rams team is scary. And this is a team, if you've made the playoffs, you don't want them to make the playoffs because
Exactly.
they are clicking at the right time. And we're going to talk about that again a little bit later. One thing I want to touch on with you is, CMC is in the conversation, at least for league MVP, as is Brock Purdy. When I look at someone like Raheem Mostert, he's got the same amount of touchdowns as CMC has. Why do you think that Mostert isn't involved in this MVP conversation as well?
Well, it's because CMC has a dual threat type of running back. He does so much in the passing game. He does everything really.
He
Whereas
blocks too. Yeah.
Mostert,
I mean,
yeah, where Mostert's doing great, but it's more from a fantasy standpoint. Like even Devon Achane is there. Like if Mostert missed time, the Dolphins running game would still probably be really good with
yeah.
Achane. And plus, with MVP being like basically a quarterback award,
Quarterback.
you have to
Yeah.
be like having a legendary running back season or wide receiver
Right.
season with hey, CMC and Tyreek Hill are having that, and they're
Yeah.
still not among the favorites in terms
Yeah.
of betting odds for MVP. So that's why I would say Mostert is not in the conversation. As for
Yeah.
CMC, like I totally get it if people would say he should be MVP or even
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill. It's just that if I were to put money on who will be awarded that, it's got to
Yeah.
be a quarterback.
Yeah. And at that point, look, I like Brock Purdy. What I would like to happen is Brock Purdy gets the league MVP and Christian McCaffrey can have the Super Bowl MVP, which is
Yeah.
if he's putting up
Hey,
games like he has been doing, he'd get
true,
it.
and he'll probably have maybe offensive player of the year. It could be both 49ers winning those
I have
MVP and
I have a ticket. Yeah, I've got a preseason ticket on McCaffrey for offensive player in the year. So selfishly, I don't want him to win the MVP because he was at like 10 to
yeah.
1. It was actually pretty good odds. All right, moving on to our picks. Week 16, the Christmas slate of games, starting with a spread or a money line. What do you like?
Well, we've been talking about your 49ers so much. How can I not start off with them as one of my picks? 49ers minus
Go
5.5
Frank.
at home to the Ravens. And it's really just me writing this one stat I'm about to share. The 49ers at home with Brock Purdy and Trent Williams in the lineup are 10-0 with a plus 199 point differential. So 9 of those 10 wins were by double digits. And the other one was by 7 points. So they're just not only are they the best team in the NFL, but they are virtually unstoppable at home.
Yeah.
And I know the
Yeah.
Ravens are good. They're probably right now the best team in the AFC. But you
Yep.
got to ride with the 49ers. You're getting them below 7 points. They just need to win by a touchdown here. Don't be afraid to lay the points. Give me the 49ers
Yeah.
minus 5.5.
I love this play. No, just me being superstitious. I almost never lay the points with the 49ers, and that's just me being a fan. I agree with everything that you've said. There is one bet that I continually do for the Niners every single week that is cash in 11 games, and we'll get into that when we get into the totals. Everyone listening already knows what this is. But yes, I agree with everything that you're saying. And by the way, you want to talk about who the most valuable person is on the 49ers. It's Trent Williams. That's who it is.
Yeah.
Trent Williams is out of the game, and that offense does not work as well. Doesn't matter who's at quarterback, doesn't matter who's at running back, who's at receiver. Trent Williams is the most valuable player on the 49ers.
Absolutely. And that 3-game losing streak, what happened? Williams was out of the game. He left early against the Browns, they lost. He was out against the Vikings, they lost, and he was out against the Bengals and they lost. And then since he's been back, they've been picked up right where they left off when he was playing, and they're just rolling.
Agree. I'm looking at the Bengals, and on Caesars right now, it's 2. You could find it 1.5 some places, so certainly shop around. But I'm going to lay the points with the Bengals. Jake Browning, to me, has just been such a fun surprise. Like kind of like a little Purdy 2.0. Like he's averaged over 300 passing yards over a 3-game stretch. The Steelers, of course, won their first matchup 16-10, but that was their last win. Steelers have lost 3 in a row since then, and I think that this could be Mike Tomlin's first losing season. And I do understand that since he doesn't have Jamar Chase, probably, I mean, I think he's got like a collarbone or a shoulder issue. So, but they still have weapons. They still got T. Higgins, who had a couple of scores. They got Tyler Boyd, who is probably going to have a bigger role. Now, I do like the under in this game. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be a slugfest, which is why we're still okay with having the Steelers as my defense and special teams. But a short number like this, the Bengals are just better. And I don't trust that the Steelers can put together any offense. I just don't. I don't care if it's Mason Rudolph. I don't care if it's Mitch Trubisky. I don't care if it's Kenny Pickett. They don't have an offense. So I'm gonna lay these points.
Yeah, I totally get it. I wrote up actually in a parlay article at the game day. I have the Steelers in a parlay, but I get your side. Like Mason Rudolph is
Yeah.
starting. Steelers offense is a mess. I think what could happen is, we could see Najee Harris and Jalen Warren run well against the
Yeah.
Bengals front that has struggled to stop the run. And we've seen Pittsburgh show up in these home divisional games. They beat the Ravens, but
Yeah.
I totally get it. This is why I put in a parlay rather than a straight
Yeah.
bet. I'm not fully I don't love taking the Steelers, but I think it could
Right.
go either way. So I get your stance for sure.
Yeah. What's another spread or a money line that you're looking at?
Another spread, I'm sticking with another Monday night game. We got 3 on that slate, and I'm going with the Chiefs -10 at home against the Raiders.
Ooh, double digits.
Yeah, it's just really the Chiefs have just dominated the Raiders lately. They've won 6 straight against Vegas.
True.
Four of those 6 games were by double digits. Earlier this year, they went on the road. It was when the Chiefs weren't even playing that well, and they still won by 14. And I do think the Raiders can really have a bit of a letdown following that complete blowout disaster we saw against the Chargers on Thursday Night Football. I
The
feel
fact
like
that the
Mahomes
Chargers
could
made
really,
the Raiders,
yeah,
look like offensive juggernauts and score what was
yeah,
like
that's
62,
crazy.
64 points. Like, get out of here.
Maybe they just quit on Staley that game, and then you never know.
No, honestly, Frank,
Possible.
I think that's exactly what happened.
They
That
just
that
got sick
team
of him.
quit, which
Yeah,
which makes the Chargers a little frisky this week. Little what
yeah,
do they call it?
I
Dead
I
cat
agree.
bounce.
Yeah, to your point about the Chargers, we see sometimes when these teams fire a coach during the season, in the first game following that move, they play a bit
Like the
better, and they're
Steelers?
like the Raiders, like the Raiders when
Yeah.
they fired McDaniels the first game
Yeah.
with Antonio Pierce, they beat the Giants. Sometimes it works out for them.
Well, when the Steelers finally fired Matt Canada,
Oh
all of a
yeah,
sudden
that
they
too.
had,
Yeah.
400 yards of offense,
Yes.
but then never again. It's like it'll happen
Sure.
and then,
It's like a
it goes to whatever.
one game high. Yeah.
But you know what? Like I like the Chiefs to win this game. I think everything that you said makes so much sense. I I'm worried about this Chiefs team and if they're going to be able to get it. Not necessarily about this game. I mean, the 10 points is a lot. I don't blame you for laying that much, but like the drops that are happening, Kadarius Toney, MVS, like it, and you could see Patrick Mahomes is starting to crack. Like first of all, he had that press conference where he's blaming the refs and this and that, and the fact that he goes to Josh Allen, it was like that's the
Yeah,
worst
that
call ever.
was
It's like you're really saying that to Josh Allen? You've hurt Josh
yeah.
Allen a lot.
Yeah.
He apologized for that. It wasn't a good moment. He's a human. But then just seeing him on the sideline when Kadarius Toney is dropping it again. I mean, I don't know. And Gronk came out. I don't know if you saw this. Gronk came out on Kay Adams' show and he said, if you're dropping this much, this consistently, you just don't like football. If you're not trying to get better, like this
Yeah,
guy
he
just
could be,
doesn't love
yeah,
the game, doesn't love his
you
team,
could see
isn't
it.
playing. And hard to argue with that. I'm gonna look at the Seahawks here, and lay the 2.5 with them.
Love it.
Seattle's yeah, first of all, I mean, as a 49ers fan, I thought the Eagles were gonna win that game. I took them for a double result. They won in the first half, and then, Drew Lock just came alive. Huge win for them at home on Monday Night Football, and they're playing for their lives this week. They gotta keep winning if they want a shot at the playoffs. Titans have already been eliminated. Will Levis may miss a game. We may see Tannehill again. And even if Levis does play, like ankle injuries are just really tricky, especially with mobile quarterbacks. We've seen what Trevor Lawrence has looked like with that high ankle sprain that he has. Geno Smith, I believe, is going to be active for this game. They've got all the momentum coming off of that huge win over Philly on Monday night. And the Titans secondary is just soft. It resembles Swiss cheese. I think they give up 226 yards per game, 22nd in the NFL. You look at the weapons, Lockett, Metcalf, even JSN, which you said is going to be a play for you this week in fantasy. Like I think they're going to be able to put up pretty big numbers on this game. And then the Seattle's pass defense hasn't been great, but they do create a lot of pressure up front, which should help to at least try to limit Derrick Henry. They're also 5-2 against the spread on the road. So I like the Seahawks in this spot. I know Vrabel as a dog, but not really this season.
Yeah, I love that one. And hey, remember to that Thursday night game when Geno Smith was healthy against the Cowboys? They could have won in Dallas, and that
Yes.
was their first game. They got back their right tackle, Abe Lucas, who was out since week 1. So their offensive line was fully intact. And you saw Geno really thrive with more protection. It's been a shame the last 2 games he's had to miss. But I think he's going to build off that effort against the Cowboys. And the Seahawks are going to go on a bit of a run and make the playoffs. And facing a Tennessee team that is eliminated and just playing out the year. And you're getting Seattle -2.5. They just got to win by a field goal. Love it.
I love it too. It's so funny because the NFC looked kind of weak this year. People were kind of counting the Rams out. Some people were really high on Seattle. Some people were, but we could have 3 NFC West teams in the playoffs, which would be fun for us. All right, we are going to take a quick break here. When we come back, more props and locks, and we're going to talk about TNF as well. Stick around. Why should you bet with Caesars Sportsbook? 2 words, Caesars Rewards. Every bet brings you closer to the type of benefits only Caesars can offer. Hotel stays, VIP experiences, sports and concert tickets, and more. It's not just an app, it's an empire. 21 and over must be physically present in Arizona, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Maryland, Massachusetts, Michigan, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming, or Washington, D.C. Sports betting is void in Georgia, Hawaii, Utah, and other states where prohibited. Know when to stop before you start. Gambling problem, Illinois, Maryland, New Jersey, Ohio, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, affiliated with Harris, Philadelphia. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, crisis counseling and referral services can be accessed by calling 1-800-GAMBLER. That's 1-800-426-2537. Or in Maryland, visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Or West Virginia, visit 1-800-GAMBLER.net. Arizona, call 1-800-NEXT-STEP. Colorado, D.C., Nevada, Wyoming, Kansas, affiliated with Kansas Crossing Casino. Call 1-800-522-4700. Indiana, call 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Iowa, call 1-800-BETS-OFF. Louisiana, call 1-877-770-STOP. License through Horseshoe, Bossier City, and Harris, New Orleans. Massachusetts, if you or a loved one is experiencing problems with gambling, please call 1-800-327-5050 or visit gamblinghelplinema.org for 24/7 support. Michigan, call 1-800-270-7117. New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NEW YORK or text HOPE New York 467-369. Welcome back, everyone, to Moxie Bets, presented by Caesars Sportsbook, here with my friend Frank Ammirante, previewing the Week 16 holiday slate for the NFL season. Let's talk totals. I'll go first because we had just talked about this game. I'm taking the Bills team total over 27.5. This is a monster spread. It's like 11 or 12, depending on where you get it. Buffalo is red hot right now. They look like one of the most dangerous teams in the AFC. I would say that like Buffalo and the Rams are the 2 teams that you don't want to see in January. You don't know if they're going to get there, but you certainly don't want to see them in January. But I don't trust them to cover a large spread like this, even though the Chargers are inept, and they just allowed the Raiders to score that much. But to your point, I think they were giving up on Brandon Staley a little bit. The Bills have scored 30 in their last 3 games, or 30 in 3 of their last 4 games. So I'm not going to take the big spread here, but I think that they're going to score at least 28 points. But I would worry about the dead cat bounce situation with the Chargers, and maybe some like late covers here.
Yeah, exactly. I really like that call because, for one, the Bills' offense has been much improved since bringing in Joe Brady as their offensive play caller. He's doing a great job getting the ball to James Cook. And it helps you avoid that situation you just mentioned of that ugly backdoor cover. Like, what if the Bills are up 31-14? There's a minute left. It really means nothing. And these teams just keep passing it. They don't care to just, okay, let's just end the game and go home. No, they got to pad the stats. And yeah, honestly, that's the most infuriating type of betting loss, is when you chose the right side, but because of that nonsense garbage time,
how about
you lose.
When Sean McVay decided to kick the meaningless field goal that ruined the Niners cover? Like, that was
It's frustrating when that happened, when you're on the wrong side of that. So taking the over on the team total, I really like. Especially, the Bills offense looks improved. Chargers defense has struggled. I'm with you on that one.
Speaking of, from a fantasy perspective, James Cook has been cooking.
He just killed me in one of my leagues. I had no hope when he had a game like that. He just went off. Yeah. All right. Well, I was wrong on him coming into the year. So the total for me, I'm looking at Jags and Bucks under 42.5. The Bucks games at home have been pretty low scoring. 5 of their 6 home games went under 42.5, and 3 of those games went under 30. So Trevor Lawrence is questionable, but even if he plays, this has the look of like a 20-17 type of game either way. And I like the under in this spot.
I like it too, because like you said, we don't know if we're going to see Trevor Lawrence or CJ Beathard. And I don't have a
Yeah.
lot of faith in CJ Beathard. And also,
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence has not looked very good coming off of that high ankle sprain. And like you said, in concussion protocol right now, he's been kind of a turnover machine. So it'll be interesting, but I do like that under as well. Here it is, Frank. Here is my Katie Mock special. Here's what I give out every single week, and it's the 49ers team total. Over. This week it's at 26.5. It's actually dropped. It was 30 last week. 30.5 was the first time that they had gone over 30. But look, this is a very big test for the 49ers against the best team in the AFC. It's potentially a Super Bowl preview. Both the Niners and the Ravens have the longest winning streaks right now in the NFL. But you already said this. The Niners are first in point differential compared to the Ravens, who are third. And, the Ravens also, I think, could be a little bit tired. They've had to fly across the country a couple times. They were in overtime 2 weeks ago. They played 3 games in 15 days, and they have not played a team who scores 30 points per game at home. That is the average that the 49ers score at home, about 30 points. In fact, they haven't had less than 28 at Levi Stadium. Well, they did one. The last time they did was against the Bengals, and that was the last time they lost basically ahead of a
But
bye week. So
without Trent
49ers
Williams.
no Trent Williams, no
So
Deebo
that's
Samuel.
the thing.
You know,
Yeah. So don't. Yeah.
this has gone 11-4, and the 4 times that it missed were during the 3-game losing streak where they only scored 17 points through those 3 games, and then we missed by the hook against Seattle. They ended at 28 instead of 28.5. But this has been a cash cow all season long. People just keep riding the train.
Yeah, and plus you get it under that key number of 28 or 27, so you could win with a 27 or 28 score line. That's huge too. And when you have a historic offense like the 49ers have, let's face it, what they have right now is definitely one of the best offenses in NFL history. I don't think it's really an exaggeration to say that. So when you have that, they tend to overcome good defenses like the Ravens, and I think they will here as well, especially at home. Maybe if they were on the road, maybe they wouldn't score as much as usual, but because they're at home, I'm with you on this.
Well, and the thing is too is that like you said, this on both sides of the ball, they're so good and they have so many ways to beat you that a lot of these defenses come out really strong in the first quarter and sometimes even the first half. But the Niners just wear you down and they exhaust people that by the time we get to the second half, man, see you later.
Yeah, exactly. CMC rolling, Debo's on fire, Brock Purdy so efficient. Yeah, they're unstoppable.
Oh, I love to hear it. I could talk about this all day long, but do you have one more total you're looking at?
Yes, I do. We're going to go into the Packers and Panthers game under 37. Really, it is just about Bryce Young is not playing well in his rookie season. The Panthers have gone extremely run heavy. So when you have a run heavy team, that makes drives take longer to score points. That bodes well for the under. I think Chuba Hubbard will get fed. And the Packers' run defense is where they're more vulnerable. So you could see the Panthers chewing up clock and really creating a low-scoring game, just like we saw last week against Atlanta, where it was 10-7 or something.
They didn't score a touchdown. They won and they
or
didn't score a
9-7.
touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. So I could see another ugly game like that. Plus, the Panthers' run defense is really bad. So you could see the Packers try to get Aaron Jones more involved, which if you have both teams being run heavy, of course, that bodes well for the under. And even though it's low at 37, I'm still with it here.
Yeah. Well, look, you know what else is low? The price of admission to get into that game. There are tickets that are 57 cents, under a dollar, under a dollar. Yeah. No one is going to these Panthers games. 1, the team is horrible. 2, apparently it's very cold there. But yeah, they had in the last game, I think it was 5,200 was the attendance. Just 5,000 people were there. And there were tickets in the upper deck that you could get for 54 cents or 56, or I don't know, 50 something cents. Just wild, absolutely wild. Let's get things popping. Yeah, could not be down any worse, to be honest. But let's get things popping. Let's talk prop bets, which of course lends itself very well to the fantasy market as well. We talked about him a little bit earlier. I'm looking at Devon Achane. I'm taking him over on his receiving yards at 24.5. we talked about this on the show already. Mostert seems to be getting all of the lead running back work. But Achane's role has been kind of steadily growing a little bit in the passing game. In fact, over half of Achane's receptions on the year have come in the last 3 games. 11 receptions out of 21 have come in the last 3 games. He's reached at least 24 receiving yards in each of those last 3 games. And again, this is a very high total. This could be a shootout, 51.5. That, of course, suggests that a heavy pass game. So at this low number, I kind of like Achane for the receiving yards.
Yeah, I like it. Like you said, it's a shootout. Plus, like, even if Tyreek Hill plays, it's clear that he's not fully at 100%.
Right.
So that's why you will see them try to get Devon Achane more involved in the passing game as that explosive runner. So I'm totally with you on this one.
What's a prop that you're looking at?
And for mine, I'm going back to the game we spoke about earlier, Bengals and Steelers. I'm going with T. Higgins. T. Higgins over 56.5 receiving yards. Last year, the Bengals played 4 games without Jamar Chase. 3 of those games, Higgins went for 80 or more yards. 2 of those games, he went for 100 or more yards. And one of those games was against the Steelers, where he put up over 140 yards. Now, I get what the opposing side will say. Steelers rookie corner, Joey Porter Jr. has played really well. Yeah. But I'm not going to let that stop me from taking a receiver who's now the top wideout on the team with Chase injured. Browning's playing well. Steelers pass defense really hasn't been that good lately. The last 2 games, they've given up production to Gardner Minshew and Bailey Zappi. So we could see Browning have some success. And even like Michael Pittman, before he got injured, had like 70+ yards. So I'm not going to let Joey Porter move me off this play. Give me T. Higgins over.
I love that. You're also looking at Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, I like Justin Jefferson over 80.5 receiving yards. Since their week 9 bye, the Lions have allowed 80 or more yards to 4 receivers, and that's only in like 6 games.
Funnel.
Yeah, pass funnel. They give up a ton of production through the air. We saw Keenan Allen put up 175 yards against this defense. Chris Olave, 119. Jefferson, last time he faced them last season, he put up over 200 against them. Obviously, defenses change year to year, but it's a familiar opponent. Jefferson looks healthy. Like, he had a lot of targets against the Bengals last week, and I think he can get to 100+ in this, and we only need 81 or more.
You touched on a lot of things here. One, I love this. Even with, look at Nick Mullins. Nick Mullins, look, I'm a 49ers fan, so I've experienced a lot of Nick Mullins. He still had over 300 passing yards in the last game, so he could still light it up. Now, he makes mistakes. He's going to turn the ball over once or twice a game. But in terms of his receivers, they're still going to eat with Nick Mullins. So I love this play. I'm looking at James Conner, and I'm going to fade him. Actually, I'm taking him under 50.5 rushing yards. And look, Connor has been balling out. He's hit over this number at 4 of his last 5 games. But the Bears, rush defense has been really stingy. And it's one of the big reasons why they kind of have this little bit of a late season surge. They're 4th in yards per attempt at just 3.6. And the Bears are 4.5-point favorites, so likely going to be, playing from. The Bears. Yeah, sorry, excuse me. The Bears are 4.5-point favorites, so the Cardinals are likely going to be playing from behind here, which of course lends itself more to the passing game. So I'm just not sure that James Conner is going to get the amount of work. And again, this Bears defense has been really stout against the run, so I'm gonna fade him under the 50.5.
Yeah, I love that. Bears defense, since they traded for Montez Sweat, has really gone to another level. They're playing really well. I'm with you.
Okay, what is a matchup that you are absolutely staying away from this week? Mine is the Jets game. I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, in terms of the Commanders are just bottoming out. They're really struggling. I could see on the Jets side, like Garrett Wilson really torching the Commanders secondary. But
who's playing at quarterback? Is it Zach Wilson?
I know that's the only thing.
Simeon?
We got to
see.
Yeah. It could be ugly. For me, in terms of fantasy football and thinking about taking overs on player props, I'm staying away from the Packers passing game. I spoke about why I like the under in Carolina, Green Bay. It's because Carolina is a run funnel defense, so teams just tend to run more against them because that's where they're more vulnerable. And because Carolina's offense is not good, it creates a low-scoring game environment where the the opposing quarterback, in this case Jordan Love, they don't have to air it out as much. It's just going to be that ugly, low-scoring game. That's going to hurt passing yard production, and that's why I'll be lower on Love in fantasy football rankings. And if Jaden Reed plays, I won't be too high on him either, just because of what should be a low-scoring game environment.
Yeah. All right. I love it. Time has come now for Mox Locks. This is the one bet that you feel really good about. Maybe it's a little bit of a risky play. Mine's a little bit on the risky side here, but you're laying some lumber with Philly.
Yeah, I like all the other picks I said, but I wanted to pick a different one here. I'm going with the Eagles -12. Love this one just as much as the others. The Eagles, they're down right now. Like, they've lost 3 in a row. Public perception's really low on them. The defense is struggling. Jalen Hurts hasn't been himself. I think this is a get-right spot at home against a familiar opponent. And
you're Italian.
Yeah, no, we're gonna fade the Italian Tommy DeVito here. The Eagles have beaten the Giants by 20 or more in 3 of their last 4 matchups.
Yeah.
And we've seen sometimes with these backups, they have like nice little small stretches where they play well, and then the wheels fall off. We saw it with Josh Dobbs. I think we are going to see it with Tommy DeVito. We started to really see it last week when they got blown out by the Saints. I think this is a game where the Eagles really get going on defense and cause a lot of problems for DeVito, and they win by 14 or more, and they cover this big spread at 12, which actually opened at -10.5, and it keeps moving in the Eagles' direction up to -12. I'm going to roll with Philly here. I think they get back on track.
Yeah, if you can't get back on track against Tommy DeVito, you have much bigger problems to worry about. And I tend to agree. And look, Jalen Hurts played having the flu or some kind of illness. I've seen a lot of people online saying a lot of terrible things about him. And like you try do it. I thought he played his ass off in that game. I mean, he was running. Yeah, there was a bad interception. Some of it's like, who is he throwing to there? But like, you try having the flu and being a quarterback in the NFL. You know what I mean? So I think he deserves a little bit of grace. I also think his comments after the game, when he said that the team doesn't, seem like they're focused right now, or he's speaking about himself too. He's not blaming any of his players, and they do seem a little bit out of sorts. But to your point, they got to get right versus Tommy DeVito and the Giants. And I certainly think that they can. I am looking at, and this is kind of a gut play. I'm looking at Dallas Moneyline +105. And this is kind of like the battle of like the quote unquote fraudulent teams. And I know Miami fans are going to be angry at me for saying this. Sorry, but who have you guys really beaten? You have blown out terrible teams and you've lost to good teams. And then you look at Dallas, who blows people out at home, and then they go on the road. They're 0-3 at home, but look at who they faced. They lost to the Eagles on the road. They lost to the 49ers on the road, and then they lost to the Bills on the road. Those are 3 of the best teams in the NFL. I'm not sure that Miami is one of the best teams in the NFL. I think this is going to be a shootout. I think it probably goes over the total, but I think Dallas gets it together. I think that they're the better team all around, gets their first road win, tries to lock things up, for them in the NFC East, because they're still kind of competing for that with Philly, since Philly just dropped a game. I like Dallas +105. And again, total gut play. It could go either way, but I'm rolling the dice with Dallas.
No, I like it as well. Really, the Dolphins, every time they faced a contender, they have disappointed us. They lost to the Chiefs, they lost to the Bills, they lost to the Eagles. So until they prove us that they can beat one of these contending teams, and I view Dallas as one of those, we'll fade them. I'm going to be on this as well. I like the Cowboys.
All right, let's go. And it's so funny because I read a bunch of comments like, oh, both teams are fraudulent. Then what exactly is it going to prove? But if Miami can beat Dallas, then I'll be like, all right, they've proven something to me. If Dallas loses again, then I kind of like, okay, Dallas, you are who we thought you were. But I think this Dallas team is really good, and they laid an egg versus the Bills. There was also a lot of questionable calls. The thing didn't go that way. But Dak Prescott has been playing at an MVP level. It's kind of between him and Brock Purdy. I was really surprised with some of the play calls from Mike McCarthy there down the stretch. I had to leave him in that game, to leave Dak Prescott, your quarterback, in a week 15 game when you're down that much that late was just wild to me. Thank God Dak Prescott didn't get hurt. But anyways, Dallas Moneyline, that's what we're going to do. Taking a look at Thursday Night Football, I took a peek at your picks, and I'm on the exact same thing. Rams laying the 4 points and Kyren Williams over on his rushing attempts. So why don't you explain why you're doing it?
So Rams -4. They're a different team with Kyren Williams in the lineup. They've gone 6-4 with a plus 64 point differential with Kyren. Without him, they've gone 1-3 with a minus 46 point differential. Now, if you even look at their 4 losses with Kyren in the lineup, on the road against the Ravens, at home against the 49ers, they also lost to the Eagles. So those are 3 of the best teams in the NFL. And like we said earlier, the Rams are that team no one wants to play in the playoffs. And this is a game they have to win, because I saw probability on playoff odds. If they lose tonight, their chances of making the playoffs are at like 9% because of that game against the 49ers, last game of the year on the road. So this is a game they really need to win. And I'm not a believer in New Orleans at all.
Yeah.
They've had such an easy schedule, and they're 7-7.
Worst
a lot of those
division.
wins are home games against the Giants and the Panthers and the Falcons. That Rams are a better team. I think I could see them winning this by double digits.
Yeah, I'm laying the points totally. And everything that you just said, which offense do you trust more? You look at Matt Stafford, he's thrown 12 touchdown passes in the last 4 games. Kyren Williams has had back-to-back over 100-yard rushing games. In fact, he's had at least, I believe, 88 rushing yards in 5 consecutive games. This line has now gone up to 89.5. I think, he runs all over them. Saints are pretty good against the pass, but I believe they rank 31st against the run. So he's going to run all over them, and this Rams team is just going to embarrass them. Derek Carr, I believe, is going to be quarterback tonight. They've gone through a few of them. Can't trust him at all. I think the Rams are double digit as well. And like you said, the Rams are really in the hunt right now. A win tonight and their playoff odds jump from 54 to 74, something within that range. And then you look at the other games that they have. What was their second game? They've got this, and then they've got someone kind of easy.
Game, I think someone kind of easy. I don't
Someone
have
easy.
it.
Yeah, which I think they can win. And then they play the Niners. And to your point too, at that point, the Niners should have the number 1 seed pretty much locked in, unless something weird really happens. So they're probably not going to be starting their any of their starters. So then you got the Rams can probably easily win that game and get themselves into the playoffs as well.
I found who they played. They played the Giants. Sorry to jump in.
Okay, they play the Giants. So it's again, we got an Italian here. We're over cutlets. It was fun. It was fun while it lasted. Made some money on it. The memes and everything were great, but unfortunately, it's over for you, Tommy DeVito and Tommy Cutlets. Frank, thank you so much for joining the show today. Really, really appreciate your time. Love all the fantasy advice. Love all the bets that you get. So you're at the game day, but I know you do other things as well. So let people know where to find you.
So you can find me across TikTok and Twitter and Instagram, F Ammirante TFJ, for fantasy and betting content. I have fantasy football rankings weekly at the game day. They're ranked 7th overall in Fantasy Pro, so doing well there. You can check my bets. I'm always posting content on Twitter, and look for my show today on Thursday with the game day with Sam Wagman. It's called Better Plays Ahead, where we say our favorite plays for the week as well. But thanks for having me on, and happy holidays, Katie.
Happy holidays. I believe I asked you this the last time, but I forgot it. What does the TFJ stand for in your handle?
Oh, so originally when I first started doing content, I was doing something with a friend and we called it the Fantasy Jones, and we were going to start it up. So I had that as TFJ stands for that. And then we haven't gotten that going. So I just kept it in case we ever did it in the future. And that's what it stands for.
All right. It's F Ammirante TFJ on social media platforms. This has been Moxie Bets presented by Caesar Sportsbook. Don't forget to follow us on social as well at Moxie Bets. Happy holidays. We will actually, we're off next week, guys. So we will see you the following week after Christmas. Have a Merry, Merry Christmas, and we'll see you in the new year. Frank, again, thank you so much.
Yeah. Take care.